with some of the backwards words that actually showed up. We saw the word sex that showed up on there. Again, it was XES, so it was a matter of like, why am I looking at everything backwards? Because that's all the initials that we got tonight were backwards. That word specifically was backwards when we're talking about a woman with many lovers. So again, just kind of weird coincidences that I'm kind of gauging to see what's going on with that device. Does it read things backwards? I don't know yet. No idea. I'm going to start collecting devices, and yes, I'm probably going to take Ian's first, because he's like, I'm going to just call him Jitterbug, like, because he's just a guy of motion all over the place. And then you guys can ask me a million questions if you like, or I can direct you back to your cars, whatever you guys need me to do. This is a little lighter than what we normally see. Again, experimenting with a new device. I was obviously focused on it. I'm trying to make sure we're going to get legitimate things out of it, and it seems like we struggled a little bit with the spirit box pieces, which is fine, because I'm going to go through it in the morning anyway to see what's actually there. Sometimes if I tell you guys at night that your tour was a little lighter than normal, turn your volume down before you guys unplug your earbuds. There you go. Look at you. You're on it. So, a lot of times, we get this crazy white noise sound coming out of it. Usually the next morning, if I'm going through it, there's been nights where it's actually been a really great tour. So as far as the investigation pieces go, we just never know what's going to pop up until I start going through it. When I kind of go through your data, I'm usually done between 12 and 1. So again, if I'm researching something based on the numbers that we had, those kind of things, it takes me a little bit longer. You guys are still on vacation anyway, so I just try to get it back to you as quickly as I can. Today's the 8th, which means I have 22 more tours this month, which means you guys need to try to get to your data pretty quickly in the next few days, so that way you guys can download everything. I make it that way on purpose. You don't have to keep revisiting my website. I separate everything by month. It does stay there for a year, in case you need to trace it back, but we're on the 8th. You're going to have to be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Videos go to YouTube. Those are easy to save. All audio pieces are MP3. Right-click them, download them.
You're in charge.
And then as far as my notes go, you can actually copy and paste them into a Word document, and it brings the links with it. So that way you guys can actually follow the links without having to revisit my website 1,000 times. So again, I try to make things as easy as possible for you guys. I also created a field guide for, when you're watching the crazy videos. We normally get the word female here.
They got male.
And I just kind of walk you around the city and here, go to work.
The name of the ship.
Nick, your camera loves to act up in here, by the way. Like, it gives me weird glitches that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, even like with my mom people.
Really? Put your finger over it, maybe? Because that happens too. If your finger goes over the camera, which is down here, then it's going to show up as a red. Yeah. You're watching that technology. It's crazy.
I don't know if this isn't really relevant right now. I don't know if I can. This came from him meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's units of Tesla. I stick to milligauss because the other little blinky light one reads in milligauss, so that way we actually have something to compare it to. So we haven't had that upgrade very long either, of the camera that you're using. So the last one was pretty crappy. The second or third night I was using this, like, we caught this giant orb, like, coming towards me, and then changed direction and went up, like, in this space. Like, it was beautiful. Like, probably one of the best pieces I've ever caught.
So I'm just trying to...
Nice slow movements, you got it. I don't normally put two devices with the person holding a camera, but you seem like you can.
I'm being very careful.
Oh, you're fine. It's not normally that. It's one they want to focus on one or the other. And when I try to throw too many jobs at one person, it's a matter of like, okay, who can handle what? But yeah, that new upgraded camera, love that thing. I've been through 4 of them in the past 2 months because their original design had a few faults to it. So it was a lot of emailing back and forth and getting it right. That purple dot in the center, that's from the torch. Because it's moving with your camera, as I'm sure you noticed.
It is moving with my camera.
Not getting anything.
What is the name? What's the name of the ship? What? What is the name of the ship? What is the name?
Okay.
No. Scared.
So, any words showing up on your list?
I had Indian and scared.
Indian and French showed up here often. One of the wars that the Powder magazine served in was the French and Indian War.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it's weak at this point until we have something else to tie it.
Right.
But we do have a series of numbers going on with the IRPOV device. So maybe the French and Indian War will match up with a year that went on there. So it's a possibility. Because nothing's making sense to me other than the first two numbers she got, which was the year that Anne Bonny died.
How come sometimes these here get really high in red?
So it's all part of the aesthetic of the app. You gotta remember that this app is designed to scare people.
Uh-huh.
What it's doing is it's scanning through the FM radio stations. That's what all these numbers are up here. It's the search of the frequency.
Okay.
So every time it goes up, it thinks it actually has a word it recognizes from the 9100 word dictionary that it has stored. So it's giving you, and it growls and does stupid noises and all that mess. We just turn that down. We just let the dictionary.
Okay, gotcha.
Again, I'm not here to try to scare people. It's a matter of like, what evidence can we actually capture out of this, and does it tie into what's actually going on around us?
I see.
You getting the word rose is not coincidental by standing by the Philadelphia alley.
Right.
The word dogs being heard along the way here, and she had no idea what that quote was. I do tell that quote every single night in hopes that the word dog will show up at some point. We don't get it often, but she heard it before I even mentioned it. So, but again, that's why all those are there.
Okay, interesting.
It's an interesting way of looking at it, especially because at times I will see a match that somebody heard building and you had building at the same time frame. So again, we do get those weird phrases from time to time. Any colors showing up other than your own crazy emotions?
It's just been like lime, and then I got like a blue, but like.
Did it stay on blue or just kind of?
It stayed there until you said it. But I was asking for
It was not blue. Definitely red. Definitely red.
I assume it wasn't blue.
It's a great assumption.
Indigo. It was indigo here.
color was your hair? I mean, I got an orange.
What was the name of the ship? Dude, your bones can barely hold you up.
You got something on there. It said no, no, no.
I did on here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Look, go to the
You know
word.
what just played?
What?
This song that plays in the beginning of Grace.
Oh, that was Olivia Newton-John talking to you.
Look. It said no, no, no.
Oh, it does.
That's weird.
No, no, no.
Alright guys, let's rein it in. Come on over to the wall. Come to the wall. Ian, I'm taking your device first, man. Alright, so when I'm giving you guys the answers, hang on, I was just losing you. So again, let's get the mugshot of the person we were looking for. I also like to point out that the photo of Anne Bonny that I'm about to show you is one of the few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on. The reason for that is because she used to bare breast to show men that she just killed. They were just killed by a woman.
Oh.
So again, told you this was a badass chick. So her hair is obviously red, not blue. So we had the color blue show up on his rim. The name of her parents were William Cormack and Mary Brennan. None of you were expecting a secondary Mary. I wasn't trying to play a subliminal trick, but I did that intentionally so that way you guys weren't expecting it. So when you heard it, you would automatically think of Mary Reed from the ship, not her mother, Mary Brennan. As far as Calico Jack, I always like to show you guys what he looked like because, again, this is the guy they based your Disney character off of, and it's always interesting to see where some of the truths come from, right? So he was named Calico Jack because of the jackets that he wore. The jackets he wore came from the British captains that he killed. So, fancy jacket, Calico Jack. You guys gotta get the gist of that now. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. I don't expect Kingston to always come through, especially with the red spirit boxes, but the word king would suffice here. So again, king is still a weird term to actually hear on radio stations, but there's another type of spirit box I use that captures better disembodied voices, but it doesn't record anything. So I did actually have a king's son, something around those lines, come through it in the first couple of weeks that we used that device, so that was always my closest relevance. So I'm always waiting to see if Kingston's going to pop through again. Did you guys go rogue with any other questions?
We
I'm
stuck
excited.
to that.
I'm excited. Well, I forgot to mention, so on the word list, we had the word Rose show up while we were at Philadelphia Alley. The address where the doctor stayed, 59 Church Street, is also known as the Thomas Rose House. So I'm excited about that one, just to see if the number 59 will actually show up somewhere in your spirit box work. We did get a whole series of numbers out of the envoy, and we got the word Indian on the word list as well. This building did serve the French and Indian War, so I'm going to be taking a look at those numbers to see if anything actually matches up. If it doesn't, it just won't be in your notes. It'll just be labeled as the series of numbers that we actually noticed.
CJ.
Again, I'm not going to keep tying initials backwards. John Calhoun is buried on the other side of the wall. I'm not going to keep tying them backwards. Is it a weird occurrence that they keep happening that way? Yeah. But I'm not going to count that as reference at this point. Alright, so welcome to the Powder Magazine. I bring us back here because you guys are going to notice that other tour groups that do cut through this lot. I like to just stay out of their way. We're in a very popular area. So we're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. I'd like to point out first off that those are not crosses, those are earthquake bolts. So I told you about our one big earthquake we had in 1886. Well, it scared the hell out of everybody. So earthquake bolts are just behind those as if they're turnbuckles. If we have another earthquake like what we did in 86, which we haven't, you can turn those turnbuckles and it's supposed to straighten the building back up again.
Oh.
It's a great idea, it just doesn't work.
No.
What was funny was my entire group last night where they were all from California. It was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, why the hell am I explaining earthquake bolts to you guys? And they were all laughing. And I was like, really?
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah, they already know this. The only reason I bring those earthquake bolts up is because that's the first set that Charleston actually put in. And that's because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. Yes, all of this stuff means something. So we are here because this building was being constructed at the same time that Ken Bonny was coming to Charleston. And again, what we call it familiar. There's not going to be many buildings in Charleston this old. So it was finished in 1713. So our story actually begins right in the middle of its construction. It took 10 years to make this building, but we're going to start in 1708. Follow me, there's a lot of twists. I will slow down on the twists because they can get very confusing. 1708, a young lady moves here by the name of Anne Cormack. She is with her father and his mistress. They're moving here from Ireland. Now, the mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. The three of them are running away from his wife. So how pissed off was she? Just putting it out there. Pretty angry lady, you gotta leave by boat from Ireland to come here. They land in Georgetown. That's between us and Myrtle Beach area. So dad buys a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat for the family. That's why we're here. This is a familiar. So with that said, back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. Like, this was a pretty hardcore chick. So, fast forward. Building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne falls in love pretty quickly because she wants her freedom like a man. So, guy number one. Yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's a handful. Guy number one is James Bonny. You already know where this one's going, right? Dad didn't approve. They moved to Jamaica, and they get married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. But this guy is not the Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. So she falls in love with him a couple of years later. Guy number two, John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is literally the person they based the Captain Jack Sparrow character off of. So he is the Captain Jack Sparrow that she was looking for, and he has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate crew. Does anybody know why?
It's bad luck.
It is bad luck. Good job. So, can't put her on the crew, but he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her away from his wife. She's like, whatever, it's a man's world, I'm a pirate now, let's do this. Let's put two and two together. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. So, and then they're going to get rid of Jack. So Jack drops her off in Cuba. Go have her baby over here. These are friends of mine. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happens to the child. The whole point of me telling you all that is because she comes back dressed as a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty angry. And while she was away giving birth to their kid, he captures another pirate crew that's down below deck, and Anne's going to go flirting with that pirate crew to make him even more mad, because that's who Anne is. Guy number three. Guy number three turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy, to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have two females, dressed as males, trying to be pirates on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed in order to become a pirate. So her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, we're never going to know for sure. And the British find out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come take down one measly little pirate ship. But Anne and Mary are the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their one bullet flintlocks because they probably don't know how to use the cannons of the ship yet. They haven't been pirates for very long. So, obviously they're going to get taken. She looks at her captain and her boyfriend, Calico Jack, and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog does show up here often. So good job on hearing that. I'm super stoked because we don't always get that one. But anyway, the judge, his name is Nick as well. So that actually adds 4 different Nicks that this could be relative to in our location tonight, considering you and I are standing here. Anyway, his name is Nicholas Laws. He wants to see the two men
heard someone
that
say
fought
hanging
Master Ryan
himself.
by themselves after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken crew that would
Wop
come
is
up and
playing.
fight. So, Anne and Mary go in front, they reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He is still going to hang them because they're still pirates. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail. Dad is still over here in Charlestown with all of his Irish money. He's going to bail out Anne, bring her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed because we don't really know.
Right.
She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending, I know. Mary Reed dies a year later, 1721, from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Most articles will tell you that it was fever kind of mentality, but I would imagine it's probably very scurvious and bumpy and gross and nasty.
Right.
So, as far as questions you all can ask, I only left out 2 things. Everything else is fair game. You all know what you're doing here by now. So the 2 things that I left out are the name of Anne Bonny's parents. That is the father and his mistress. I left those out on purpose, and I also left out the name of Calico Jack.
Oh, you got a bunch of
So I'm hoping that Calico Jack's ship will come through. We haven't had that one come through in quite some time.
And what?
So
we didn't
Ian,
get a
with
rose.
your
No, I
device,
got rose.
as far as the motion sensor, you're not going to get a whole lot of numbers here unless you're close to the electrical poles, which of course that is void. We're going to be focused on the motion sensor, and you're going to ask about Anne Bonny's hair color while trying to be still. Anne Bonny's hair color is red. So it is very difficult to get a red reading unless you're jostling it. So if you're being still, to get a red is a crazy anomaly, because that means they're touching the antenna for you to show you that it was the color red. Now keep in mind, the word red can show up on your other spirit boxes too, and that's a short enough letter word to even show up on April's device. So with that said, we're going to have some fun. This is our last spot. Those of you with video cameras, you can go to the front of the powder magazine and get some footage if you'd like. The only thing I ask is that you stay out of the way of the other tours. Let them tell their history and move on, then go in there and see if you can get us some footage. You can put your camera right inside the gates, just don't drop my cameras in the lawn. That's the only thing I ask. It has happened in the past, if you laugh, but it does happen. But we are actually going to end up by that wall over there. I'm going to steal you all for one more crazy minute, because there's another reason why I gave you that heated warning at the beginning. Back in September of last year, I brought my group back here, full group, 9-10 people. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost. Like, literally, he's about to drop and hit his head on the pavement. I have to pick him up by his armpit in order to keep him from hitting his head. His boyfriend picks him up on the other side of him, and we take him over to that wall. There's a little ledge where we can sit him down. He has some water, he's feeling better. I then tell him the story that I just told you. He doesn't know anything about Anne Bonny yet. After I'm done, I spread everybody out to go have fun with their devices, last stop. They pull me aside and say, Nick, we gotta tell you, we are 2 transgender males. Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story, on my tour.
Yeah,
so
that's wild.
Again, it made complete sense to them as to why one of them passed out the minute we entered the space. Keep in mind, it was also September. Not a whole lot of humidity down here in September. Nice cool night, wasn't overdressed, wasn't underdressed, just a fluke happening. So again, I never know what's going to happen, nor do I have a full explanation for it. So that's part of the reason why I like to always give that heated warning at the beginning, because psychics don't normally make it through the tour, I'll be honest. Some of the high spikes from the Pinckney Mansion site, they drop like wet noodles. So especially if they don't tell me about it, like they're dropping, and I got to call the paramedics. Can't tell you how many times that's actually happened. So have some fun. It's our last stop, everybody.
All right.
Like looking around like, what's it? The cemetery. Of course it's a cemetery. I told you Calvin's buried over there. So, I heard a couple little folks come up on here. Anything?
Do you want to listen to anything?
Huh?
Do you want to listen to anything? So I have to find out the name of his ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was by the alley.
So, do you remember when I told you he stayed at 59 Church Street, the
Mm-hmm.
doctor?
Yeah.
That is known as the Thomas Rose House.
Oh, interesting.
It shows up there all
That's
the
where
time.
it showed up when we were walking.
I mean, while we've been here, we got Caitlin, Caden, Haley.
And Jeremiah.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know the names of any of the children. It's not listed anywhere. She kind of fell off the face of the earth. I got a couple tired of it. But I am excited about Rose. Like, that's a big one. Come on.
Yeah.
Dogs. Yeah, the dogs showed up tonight.
See, Maddie the dog. I told you it was going to be a dog thing.
I was excited about that one.
I have to find the name of his ship.
Oh, there he goes. Jitterbug back there.
What's the name of his ship? The name of the ship. Tim.
Tim?
Nope. Ghost. The name of the
Blinking.
Yep.
Good. Alright, so other tours will be going down there. They did not pay to get filmed. So that's part of the reason why I say very discreetly and not looking like a blogger. There you go. Perfect. Right on the belly. What words do we have going on with your word list? Go ahead and hit that little white box to the right of the word.
Milk broadcast clouded haunting.
Yeah, got nothing on that. You guys heard anything along the way? Bridge. We have a radio station called The Bridge, so that's a pretty common term. I omit all of those. Do you have anything showing up with yours? I always omit the very common things. So the year that we're in, so 2022, I always omit those, and obviously the city that we're in, Charleston.
Yeah,
Too
I
easy.
heard a lot of stuff.
Yeah, too easy. So we're gonna break that down. April,
Epidemic.
anything? GBJ. Yeah, it was so close. Backwards again. So we're about to talk about Joseph Brown Ladd. So you have B and J backwards. The G got in the way. So we'll see if you get an L, and maybe that'll hopefully give us something out of it.
Ascend.
Ascend.
Epidemic.
Right? So,
Ascend.
how you doing? So behind me stands Philadelphia Alley. That's what it's called now. We named it that after a city that helped us after one of our many, many fires that we've already discussed. So again, it used to be called Jewelers Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. We all tell the same story of the specific duel because we can actually prove that it occurred. But of course, I'm going to give you different details because you're ghost hunting. You need different details. It's not just a campfire ghost story. So there's a doctor that moves down here. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd, as I already mentioned, so JBL. We'll hopefully see some of those initials show up. But he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So I was wondering like why they were stopping. So she has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda to get rid of this doctor. So to prove that he's not after Amanda's money, he comes down to Charleston. And as he's coming into town, the coachman that was bringing him in set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start to his stay in Charleston at all. So basically what happens from there is somebody's walking by. He sees what's going on. He knows the guy that's trying to rob and kill the doctor, and he stops everything. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop there because Ralph's initials actually match up to where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. We do hear RI here all the time, and hopefully we're going to start to see it with the device that April's using. So, with that said, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. I know him. So, I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there, and you'll be safe and good to go. Dr. Ladd takes him up on the offer, and they become friends. The doctor, the longer he stays here, is making a whole hell of a lot more money than he thought he was going to, which means Amanda's moving down soon because he's proving his point. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you will ever visit in the future has a cliche whistling ghost. I can almost put my paycheck on it. So with that, there's actual proof of this one, but we're going to talk about that in just a minute. With that being said, Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's just the way the hierarchy works. He gets better seats. They talk about these plays on the way home. One night they go see Richard III from Shakespeare. They're arguing over the new actress that was in town. Dr. Ladd thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home, and it gets really ugly. They go their separate ways. Ralph then puts an ad in the newspaper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees this ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Jewelers Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph has his one shot and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor didn't die either, but Ralph proved his point that he's still pretty ticked off. You guys see how large the other choices can be. Yeah, right? It's hard to hear one person. So, the doctor is picked up after he's been shot and is carried home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. He's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out this bullet himself. Just kind of keep that in mind. Now, I told you the proof is where the whistles are, right? So the campfire part of the story is that as you walk through the alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my tours all the way through there, and it was all about using the voice recorder to see if whistles will show up. If you try to do this on your own, because obviously I can't take you down there because it's residential, turn on your voice recorders, but keep in mind every local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. So again, when I go back to my car, because we're going to end at that corner, my car's over there, I throw a whistle every night. When my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first, especially since I've been booted out. So let's get into that. Make sure the neighbor's not coming down the alleyway to hear me tell his story. So I used to take my tours all the way through, like I said, because the alley didn't always come all the way through. That means the bricks on the other side are older. There's a full handprint in one of those bricks because those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's also fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the end. I'd always show it off just to show how far we've come from slavery. So I'm sure you guys picked up, I'm all about the history, right? So everybody wants to try to get a reading out of that brick. I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. My group of November 26th of 2020 decided they're going to huddle around that one brick and try to get a reading from a spirit box, EMF meters. You guys get the picture. What's outside a dining room window of a gentleman's beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. One wasn't very happy with us. So he come out screaming. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I didn't have a tour. November 28th, 2020, I got a phone call asking me to go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do. I decided to reroute my tour instead because it's not fair for you 10 to try to investigate around 20 to 60 in half of the space. So I decided we're going to reroute, but I told my group I don't even believe in this story, but we're going to see what happens. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating. Before we left, somebody on their spirit box, here's the name Anne. I did not tell them we're going to be investigating Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. So I'm like, damn it, pirates. I'm a vampire guy. So it was one of those kind of mentalities. When we get up there, I told what little bit I did know about pirates, and then somebody hears the number 300. I wrote it down. The next day I'm doing the research, and it turns out we were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. Yeah. So that kind of got me, okay, guess I need to learn about pirates. So, it is a hit or miss location. We will either get a ton of activity or we'll get no activity. So again, it is definitely a hit or miss. Worst case scenario, I had read, I don't know how many books about pirates that I ever wanted to, because again, I'm a vampire guy. So worst case is you're going to learn a lot about pirates and the way things actually worked back then. So let's get up close to the powder magazine. Before we do that, do we have any words that showed up and any letters that showed up on your end?
Blind.
Blind. That actually showed up here a few nights ago.
Got J, this time it was J-E-G,
JBLT. So Joseph Brown Black. JBL.
J-B-L.
Oh my God. I thought you said V. You got me stoked. Like, oh, we have initials, everybody.
Jeremiah. That's what I have now.
But blind actually showed up here.
Yeah?
It's very interesting. I'm going to see if more clues show up about that before I reveal why that word showed up here last time. All right, let's head up to the powder magazine and see what we can get going on.
Jeremiah, you is a full frog.
to listen?
Is that our parking lot? Yeah. Oh, good. I was thinking we'd never find it again.
Dogs is probably the most, it's probably our biggest piece of evidence tonight. So again, I can't make these things up, so once I get through the story, like, I'm stoked about dogs showing through. I don't know what February means yet, but again, like, the fact that it's so far away, like, if you heard August and be like, okay, we're in August.
Yeah.
Commercials are going to say August all the time. But February this time of year, it's kind of nuts. I'm going to see if there's any ties to that, so I'm excited about that. Anything else going on with those spirit boxes? Word list, letters?
Economics.
Economics, no. So a lot of this looks like it's just garbage. Like, I don't see anything yet where I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
So basically, you're just going to hang on to it, and you and I will look at the list together. Okay. So nice and easy, and you can film at the same time. So that way you're kind of double duty.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, wait, so we can talk together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how did Eliza die? How did Eliza die?
How did Eliza die? You don't have to click it. It's all the way at the beginning. I don't know how to go back, but there you go. How did Eliza die? As it was, Harry Styles. How did Eliza die? How did Eliza die? Did she? It knows it's Winnie. Oh, Winnie. Did it have something to do with a dog? What if she had something to do with a dog? I don't know. You can ask. How did Eliza die? How did Eliza die? Or a window.
I got 42.4.
Whoa.
42.4. If I come through a block.
How did Eliza die?
Hearing that sound the entire time you're holding it. So I don't know if you have that much
How did Eliza die? I would die every day waiting for you. He's yelling at me. How did Eliza die? How did Eliza die? Was she waiting for someone? At a window and a dog attacked her? I really hope I don't hear something about a dog. It would make me sad if when you... How did Eliza die? We want to know. We're so curious. And what president was a pallbearer at her funeral?
How did Eliza die?
What president was a pallbearer at her funeral? What president was a pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? What president was a pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? I mean,
Did she die dancing? Justin Timberlake is playing.
JT.
Helen, you got anything showing up on that word list?
I got wind.
Yeah, I got nothing on that. Too vague for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you got anything else
Ma-
in yours?
What she had, I would die every day
I didn't have
waiting for you.
That was a long lyric you heard. No, I'm kidding. You got the word feedback now.
Feedback.
I don't think I've ever seen that word on there.
Feedback.
I've been using that app for like 6 years.
No
And I just
feedback,
love
huh?
it because it gives me the timestamp, so it kind of gives me a staple of where I need to look, like a landmark on all of the other pieces.
Got it. Feedback.
So, it's interesting. So I'm going to do one more quick round robin, and
Okay.
then just because I think, with Ian's device, he's a pretty jittery guy. So he's been making it go off. So I literally have it as low as I can possibly make it for the sensitivity.
He's making it go off.
It's his movements.
He is a jittery guy.
Yeah. He's
Even when he
very
was little,
mobile.
he used to watch
Reset,
TV
Ian.
standing on his head.
There you go. He's got it now, I think.
I would die every day waiting for you, darling. How did Eliza die? Tell us how she died. Eliza, how did you die? And also,
Alright,
what president was?
now that you guys are getting the gist of how to listen to this spirit box, I know you haven't heard much yet. So April, what letters do you have? See if I can anagram this. Oh, did you? Did you have anything that you know?
A lot of W's.
So you had GW?
WG.
Hang on to that GW, WG.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it'll make more sense once we actually start going through all of the So, first thing I want to do is I want to explain Ian's readings. So, he got all the way up to 42 milligauss. We're not even going to discuss the colors, just because he was the one making it go off the entire time. He's a very mobile guy. Like, he likes to move around. So, he and I had the discussion. You're going to hear it on your regular voice recording, so we don't need to talk about it again. But his numbers actually were pretty good. So, here's what actually happened. That thing is measuring electromagnetic fields. So, Helen, I'm going to go ahead and stop your video.
Yeah.
Nick, you can stop your video. So, something absolutely unheard of, by the way, to have a woman as a businesswoman in colonial times. That's her business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here. Like, you didn't come here for just a history tour. You want some of the weird stuff. So, with your 2 spirit boxes, I'm going to try to put the 2 of you working together on things. So, with that said, the mansion's not here anymore. So you can stick to like what happened to the mansion, and then when did that happen. So we're obviously looking for a very specific date, and your device can actually switch to numbers. So if you turn that red dial at the top, yep, you'll see that it'll go to numbers next. Yes, no, go, keep going.
Okay.
You can switch it up if you want to ask about numbers. So again, you can ask what happened to it, and then when did it happen. The other thing I want you guys to focus on is the children. So I told you there was 1 child. His name was Charles. There are more. You can ask how many they had, how many children between Charles and Eliza, and then what their names were. But don't really poke the bear with this one, because there's a tragedy among those kids. If you poke the bear, all activity will stop. So we're getting a little bit of spikes with the device. So again, I don't want to poke the bear and make everything stop. So again, names, how many, what happened to the mansion, when. So again, kind of keeping it very, very simple, but definitely not yes/no answers. With yours, Eliza's death is where I want you to focus. So with that said, how old was she when she died? What did she die from? Where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral? Okay. So again, obviously none of these are yes/no questions. I hate the fact that, and if you keep going on that little red dial, it gives emojis. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. I'm not doing yes/nos. We're not definitely doing emojis, because you can't prove somebody's feelings. So it's all about actual data and things that we can actually get out of it. Cameras, again, vehicles in here, so we're not going to go in between vehicles. Kind of keep that in mind. But nice slow movements with your cameras, and the slower movements you have, the easier it is to watch these videos. I'm going to keep Ian behind so I can show him how to use that motion sensor, but as far as everything else, go ahead and let's spread out against this lot. I'm going to be bouncing around with all of you to kind of see what's going on with all your devices, taking notes, and then we'll regroup and I'll give you guys all the answers once we've got enough data to collect. So,
Asking some questions, huh? Are you going to ask some questions?
Should I ask her a question?
Yeah.
What should I ask? Do you want to put your little ear? Here, let me make it longer.
Like what?
Is it in?
Yeah. What happened to the mansion?
No, that's not what we're asking. We're asking about her dad.
Oh. When did Elijah die?
Eliza. Jesus Christ. No, we just said that.
Oh, did?
Yeah.
It did?
Yeah. What did you ask?
When did Eliza die?
Yeah, I can spread it out now.
What else are we supposed to ask?
Well, how she died, and what president was a pallbearer at her
What
funeral.
president was a pallbearer? How did she die? Music. Ew, I don't like that. That was like a...
How did Eliza die?
Violent. What is that? I don't know. Who was the pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? What president? know. How did Eliza die? I'm waiting for it to be like tuberculosis. I guess I should know the names of the staff. I don't know any. I don't know any of them either. Well, how did Eliza die? Who was the pallbearer? No, we don't have these two judges. Oh, sorry, Eliza. Okay. How did Eliza die? Why am I don't know why I'm talking to it. When did Eliza die? Beautiful girls all over the world. When did Eliza die? What president was a pallbearer at Eliza's funeral? They play Macarena, did you hear that? I heard it. If you want to give me the other one, I can listen to it closer. Yeah, maybe you can do better. Not sure if my hearing is good enough. Really loud. Really?
Eliza, can you give me blue? I have blue, but you have to back up. I have blue. Blue. Eliza, can you give me blue? Blue.
Going on with yours? So you're not going to give the spirit box a listen in with the extra
I did.
ear?
I
Okay.
did.
How did it go? What did you guys hear?
I couldn't hear very
It's
much.
not easy.
very much.
Okay.
I played
So-
Macarena.
Oh, 13.5.
13.5.
Wait, so I have a question. Okay,
Yeah.
so if I ask you for blue,
Keep playing Beautiful
it'll
Girls.
do like, it'll do blue, but then it'll also do like orange and So am I looking for one solid
It'll
color?
come up solid.
Okay.
Like you're so mobile right now. Reset that. Every time you hear that noise, and it keeps going back to red. Reset again. Wow. Reset. Keep resetting it until we get a baseline green, where it's not making any noise. Are you getting numbers too?
Yeah, 13.9.
Wow. Like technically, he should be able to click that button and it like shuts up.
Really?
Like that's the point of it. Like he's resetting it.
Oh, Harry
resetting it.
Styles is playing.
Oh, everybody hears. Everybody hears Harry Styles. So with the, I might actually hand this one off to you too. The one with the word list, because that one's much easier to use.
Okay.
So people in our generations have a hard time hearing that. So that's why I always hand it off to the teens, because they know what they're doing. And if you're not a teenager, I'm sorry if I insulted you, but again,
I'm not a teenager.
Well, I was talking.
Teenager. Oh, they're definitely teenagers.
So with this one, I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay. We're ready.
Which is good. You're going to be super quiet, aren't you? Yeah, we're going to get you talking. Come on, we're going to get this.
What are you doing? Is he on there? No, I'm sending in a video. Watch the water.
Before I presume anything, what's the relationship here? So, okay. Okay. Again, I never assume anything, so I always try to clarify all of that. So, welcome to our first stop. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. It's a matter so we can talk more about your devices and kind of get this party started so you guys can ask me questions. But where are we? This is the big red barn lot. So this is obviously where we keep some of the horses for your carriage rides. The reason why we're using earbuds is exactly why this lot. It's because of the horses, they don't like the white noise. So that's why you gotta use earbuds now. Now, with that being said, the history here is really simple. This is the same red barn lot that held horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So keywords here would be delivery, milk, eggs, and obviously anything relatable to a stable. So, spirit boxes, they were used on tonight. So basically 3 of them, right? And then the one in my pocket, in my bag. So spirit boxes, what's the first question that everybody wants to ask, say a Ouija board or a communication device? You guys have seen movies, come on. What's the first question everybody wants to ask?
What's your name?
What is it?
What's your name?
What's your name? Okay, what else?
Is there any
So I would
here
ask.
that wants to communicate?
Is there anyone here, right? Because again, you have that yes-no option. So, Peyton, if you hear the answer of no, that means somebody's here. We are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. So, even if you're a skeptic and you're here just hanging out, you want some kind of paranormal proof. So, like, that's basically what we're actually after. We're going to go after the details. For example, when I'm training people how to use your spirit boxes, it's all about what questions can you ask that you already know the answer to get some validation. If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we are looking, because the word list we don't actually have to listen to, and listening for the color red. But the color red might not be available to the song lyrics and DJs that we're waiting for to convey a message back to us. Fire truck, blood, heart, those 3 things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer as far as what color is the big red barn. Blood. We're good. However, most of the night, I'm going to kind of require that there's something else going on to be able to verify, or at least come close to claiming something as being paranormal. So again, not everything is going to be paranormal. This is not a TV show, just so you guys have that mentality in your brains. I'm going to give you another example of something cluing together. Let's say the word list has the word art on it. That doesn't mean anything over here. But then Maddie actually hears the number 40 on hers. So together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You guys see where we're able to kind of verify. We might actually have Mark Faircloth here with us. So again, that's what we're going to be doing all night long, kind of verifying. You're going to hear me say secondary verifier all night long, because not everything's going to be paranormal. It could be just a very slight coincidence. Cameras, there's 2 of you working with cameras tonight. Just kind of a quick warning on both of those before I start explaining them a little bit further. We're going to be in spaces just like this, where there's going to be parked cars and people walking by. They don't like to be filmed. They definitely don't like their cars to be filmed. So again, if I say an Andy's coming kind of mentality, like from Toy Story, where the toys drop, you're basically going to be playing with a cell phone, looking at it, you know, like you have a normal cell phone. And then Helen, you're going to be basically pointing yours to the ground, nice and easy. So again, people just don't like their cars to be filmed. They don't know what we're doing out here, so it is what it is. But with yours, Nick, so you're going to try to do 2 things for us. You're going to try to keep one of us in view, because we're going to be the warmest thing out here. So I know I made that joke earlier, but I did that on purpose, so I had another point of reference. With the warmest spot in there, it's much easier to find cold spots. So again, if you don't have a warm point of view, then you're going to have nothing but warm. So that's just kind of how the camera works. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view if you can. It's going to be impossible in some areas, but that blue dot will default to the sky looking for a surface. There isn't one. I was wondering, do we have an animal? Like, what do we have behind you? So again, people in, sky out. That's the easiest rules to remember. Helen, with yours, nice slow movements. That's the only thing I can actually explain. But the nice thing is that Maddie has an extra earbud hanging from her ear, so you can always kind of chime in to see if you can help her out. Okay. And the same thing goes for you, Peyton. So if you wanted to share that earbud with somebody else in your party, by all means do so. But again, that will give you another person to help you kind of listen in on, because it's not an easy task to actually go through these spirit boxes. So I do have to work with Ian at the next space, so we are going to do that at the next stop. Are there any other questions about your devices before we move on? Do you have any letters showing up on there?
Just the same FBE.
The same FBE. Okay, so I probably turned it down a little too much, so we're going to probably turn it up just a hair once we get up to the next space. All right, if there's no other questions, let's go deep dive into history instead of football players and ponies. Let's get away from this very recent spot.
Ariana Grande is playing.
What?
Ariana Grande is playing.
You're listening for. So again, if you hear a song lyric or a DJ, I want to know what that DJ said. So if it said buy a Kia today, that's what I want you to tell me that you heard. Again, because again, the word buy might actually have relative meaning to the space that we're in. Kind of like I made that joke about like drop it like it's hot. That's a song lyric. So again, if you hear drop it like it's hot, it might mean that there was a fire in the area. So kind of, it's always about whatever the song lyrics and DJs are saying. So Matt, have you heard anything on yours yet?
I Love You So was playing.
So again, the song was playing, but what lyric did you hear?
I love you so.
I love you so. Okay, so we'll take that. Everybody wants to tell me that they heard Harry Styles. Like, that's their thing. Everybody hears Harry Styles. I don't care that you heard Harry Styles. I want to know that you heard as it was the lyric. Okay. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so welcome to your first space. Yes, it's a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. Again, I told you, like this, we're going to be hitting spaces that used to be something. So spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. I'm going to withhold information on purpose so that way everybody here has a genuine experience. I'm going to turn that up just a little.
It's not up to 2.2.
Getting close, eh?
So with that said, where the heck are we? Do you have numbers showing up with me?
Yeah, I got 2.3 and a 2.2.
So 2.5 and higher. Yeah. And then we're going to escalate it. So we're going to talk more about that because I'm going to hold you back after I give the history here. All right, so what is this place? This place used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with 5 Brick Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So who the heck were these people? You're getting all kinds of letters now, aren't you? Did I tie it up too much? So you see that knob at the very bottom? all the way to the left, turn it counterclockwise, just a hair. That's going to be your sensitivity. What it's doing is it's using EMF readings to be able to verify where to stop on the cursor. So again, if it's giving us too much, we have it cranked up to too sensitive, basically. All right, so who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses, in case you lost track of the Charleses. Now you guys know why we need secondary verifiers. I need to know which Chuck we're chatting with, because again, that's 3 of them. All 3 of them can come through, and I don't know which one it is. I can just keep hearing from the same one. Now, as far as that's concerned, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a pretty big deal for South Carolina, but I hate politics. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Eliza. Eliza, she married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. When I say today's standards, it's not the colonial times that she came from. If we're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, you're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards. And the reason I bring this up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they got married. So again, kind of a creepy age gap back then, kind of a creepy age gap now. So keep that in the back of your brain. But anyway, she married Charles because her father was over in England and he thought he was dying. He is trying to get all his children home one last time because, again, he thinks he's dying. Eliza didn't think he was dying, so she got married, and it's 1744. So she did marry Charles out of love. It wasn't for a green card because we're not even a country yet. So with that said, she was correct. Dad did not die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to this base. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, indigo is a plant that makes our blue jeans blue. So April's wearing it right now. So again, that's how we use it today. She didn't know what to do with these indigo seeds when she got them, though. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. So again, once she figured it out, she moves it to another plantation, calls her father and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. And now we have an to start this video, just to make sure the humidity, because it is pretty thick tonight, is not going to mess with our camera. So Helen, with this guy, I'm actually going to hand this one off to you.
Okay.
You and I will talk more about that at our next stop. So, spirit boxes. I'm going to be using several different types of spirit boxes tonight. So, spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. If you're unfamiliar with these, it's basically the white noise you would see on your TV shows, and then your host will put in the middle of the screen what he thinks he heard, trying to convince you of the same thing. We're going to be doing that in real time. However, those disembodied voices they give you on TV are a rarity. I only capture about 4 or 5 of those per year. Per year, like not 12 per episode. So again, kind of keep that in mind. I will be debunking a lot of things tonight. Mine are slowed down on purpose. I want the radio chatter to come through. I want you to listen for the song lyrics, the DJs, and the commercials that are actually going to come through. Why? Because it might be a 50-50 shot. We could tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're discussing, or even something going on with one of you. So it happens all the time. It might sound silly to give me a song lyric of drop it like it's hot, but that might mean that there was a fire at our location. You see where I'm going with this? So again, it's all about what are they singing, not who you're hearing. And again, the commercials are super great for that. I'm looking for rare phrases, obviously. So with that, Peyton, I think this one's going to go to you. You got a little excited when I said the word spirit box. So I don't want earbuds back because your earwax is gross, just like everybody else's. So you get to keep those. Again, I buy them in bulk. Your volume button is right here. So again, you're going to control the volume, and it is recording. So tomorrow morning, it is recording just the radio sweep. You can turn the volume up and down as much as you want. You're not going to mess up the recording. So I'll be writing down whatever she hears in real time. So that way we kind of have those real-time notes, but I'm going to spot check that tomorrow with about 15 to 20 more markers to see if anything lines up with what actually went on in real time. Is that fair?
Yep.
Again, I'm not here to make anything up. You guys all got pretty excited about spirit boxes, so we're going to use a secondary one on the same type, but this one is not going to record. So this one's going to go to you as soon as I get it started. Now, because it's not going to record, I'm going to be relying on you in real time of whatever you hear, because I'm not going to be able to spot check it. So I'll be writing down whatever you hear that might be relevant to our spaces. Earwax is gross, you got it. Your volume button is the wheel. So again, it's turned all the way down right now.
So you have to listen.
Let's see, how do I want to do this? We got 2 folks left. I'm actually going to hand you my brand new device once I get them all settled up. And we've only had it a week. It's brand new on the market to the field, like 2 months old.
Wow.
So I figured You have a little bit of experience. Let's see what you can do with the new guy.
Okay.
It hasn't been very successful yet. But tonight's our night.
See, I'm watching. My bad.
Turn it all the way down. Again, there you go.
Thank you.
I turned it all the way back down again.
I'm sorry.
Jeez. The ghost did it. We'll blame them.
That was like the one you used in Shabbat, remember?
So, you have a EMF meter, you said, right? So, again, this is a digital EMF meter. We call this a Mel meter. So this actually has 3 different functions to it. So this one's actually going to go to you, Ian. The top number, anything above 2.5. Why? Because on your TV shows, you guys have probably seen these, right? So again, these are I use to debunk a lot of things. So for tonight's number of folks, we're going to put this one away. And we're going to go 2.5 on this one and higher, and we'll escalate it as we kind of go through each space. The bottom is ambient temperature with the yellow probe. So in the event Nick finds something on his camera, you and I can prove it or debunk it using the ambient temperature around this probe. The last thing that it has is it has a motion sensor built into it, or a REM pod. Basically, in a nutshell, if something gets close to the antenna, it's going to go off. I'm not touching it right now, I'm touching it now. So you and I will talk more about that on how to use that at the first space that we're actually going to use it. So for now, I just want you to kind of get used to the numbers on your red screen. I accidentally hit something, so I'm going to turn it off to reset it. So again, 2.5 and higher. The bottom number is just in the event that we actually need it. All right. So this guy.
Why are you doing that?
I know, happy little song just for you, April.
Wow.
This is what we call an envoy.
Okay.
In a nutshell, it's a digital Ouija board.
Oh
So-
gosh.
Oh, wow. Good job.
So basically, what it's going to do is it's going to use the EMF fields to detect letters coming through. Obviously, it's a little sensitive right now because we are next to an electrical wire.
Okay.
So any EMF coming off of that is going to cause it to stop on the cursor and give us letters. So right now it has given us FVE, which don't mean anything. And obviously, the person using it last night had the speed set up pretty high. So I'm going to regulate that a little bit. So I will show you more about this at the next location, but your letters that it's stopping on are at the very bottom row. So again, you and I are going to talk a lot about that device because it hasn't really given us a ton just yet.
Okay.
So again, hopefully tonight is our night. Again, I'm still learning about it, so we're going to be experimenting. No offense, but you seem like you have the most experience with these kind of devices. So we're going to see how this actually goes. Let's see. So I always like to run one of these and especially when I have my full groups, but I will keep it on me, like in the bag, and we'll pull it out from time to time just to kind of see what's going on with it. So this is going to replace what they would call an ovilus on your TV shows. It's going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. However, it's going to save all of those terms into a list with timestamps next to everything. So last night it actually had 94 terms. That's a lot for a 2-hour time frame. I'm going to clear them out because they already have their list, and we're going to start this off fresh. What I am going to tell you is that this thing is a phone app. It has 9,100 words in its dictionary, unlike an ovilus, which only has 2,048, which is about 5 times less than what this has. But 80% of what we're going to see out of this, it will be garbage. So I'm going to give you the full list because sometimes words pop up on this guy that are relevant to one of you, and you just didn't want to reveal it to us in the entire group. I will always highlight whatever I feel is relevant based on our space, and then tell you why and give you a link. Same thing with all of the other spirit boxes. So I'm going to let this run just kind of in the side pocket of my bag. What's funny is it has the word front on it.
It had the word cash at the beginning.
Cash bush in front. Wow. Okay, so we're just I'm gonna slide this into the side pocket here and let it do its thing. So I'll be keeping an eye on that as we kind of roam from space to space to see where we're at. Normally I would use that one, but that Envoy is literally brand new, so I want to experiment with it more. Alright, so there's a reason why we start here. First off, I should point out that some of the spaces we're going to tonight, the other ghost tours won't go to at all. The reason being is some of those spaces might actually be empty. It'll be an empty space, just because there's nothing to show there. If you've been on a ghost tour or a history tour in the past, you know it's like, hey, look at this building, here's a story, let's move on. That's not what this is. The space that we're going to are actually relevant to the history of Charleston, because there's no myths and legends here. They used to be something to Charleston. So, looking at our first building, I'm glad I put you guys over there first off.
Yeah.
We came down this far. Big John's. So it's closed today because it's Monday. So it's not normally closed unless it's Monday, just so you know. But this place used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. Yes, he named it after himself. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a location, I will do my best to slow down on the key words that I commonly hear around the location. Here it would be 47, New York, Giants, Big John, and anything relatable to a bar. So, here's why the place is haunted. John used to sit in the back of the bar. He would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not, because he knew most of them. One night, two guys came in, they weren't old enough to drink, so he had the bartender throw them out, and they left pretty angry. They came back the next night and tried to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. There's that word cash. So, from the front. So we have cash in front so far. Very interesting. I want something a little bit more specific, like cadet would be something very specific, and we're going to talk about that at our next stop. But John sees these two guys trying to steal his money. He slams down his beer and he goes over and just starts pounding these guys, beating the hell out of them. A couple of gunshots go off during that bar fight. John gets hit in the neck, but the bullet landed behind him in the wall. After being shot, John got up and went back to the bar, told the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor in an ambulance. So normally if I tell you a building is haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragic death that occurred there. It's not the case here. What's haunting the place is that bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. I say allegedly because the new renovation of Big John's may have filled it in, leaving Big John's blood inside the building, inside the wall. People that sit in the front of this building, like eating dinner, having a drink, have a tendency to get queasy, nauseous, or headache. It's part of the reason why we start here. Any event anybody feels any of those things throughout our night, we're always going to blame the heat and humidity first. But the whole point of that is that it is also a possibility that it could be a paranormal happening that is affecting you. I need to know immediately so we can move the whole group and get everybody to safety. Is that fair?
Sure.
All right. Again, it doesn't happen often, but I have to put that warning out there, and I know it's scary for two moms to hear that, but I have to put it out there. Let's get our minds off our own health, shall we? So, because it's never fun to hear about your own health. It's the scariest thing I'm going to tell you all night long. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. Did you guys already know that from another tour? All right, well, if you didn't, now you do. That earthquake is an anomaly for us because we're supposed to have hurricanes. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. This is South Carolina. But this building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building broke off in the front of it on East Bay Street and hit somebody in the back of the head, killed him, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof at all of that story. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. Yes, there's a couple of chuckles, which means you guys are going to have some fun with this. Good. All right, are you guys all ready to go ghost hunting?